Welcome to the Catch Up powered by Uscreen. Kylie, what do we have today?
Alex Hormozi's subscriber numbers have exploded in the past few months. He's all over YouTube right now. And in a talk on the Think Media podcast, he attributed part of that growth to repurposing content on multiple platforms. And he's putting out tons of content every week. But on the other end, on the Full Send podcast, Mr. Beast said he's not interested in repurposed shorts and he thinks they're a waste and he'd rather make original short form content. Daniel, whose side are you on?
Well, first, I would just like to point out that we are citing as sources both Think Media, great, and Full Send and the Note Boys, which if you're not familiar, I can't recommend that you go look them up, but they are kind of in the pop culture zeitgeist at the moment. But in terms of which side I'm on, I don't know that I land on either side because Mr. Beast and Alex Hormozi are in very different worlds. In that, like, Mr. Beast is creating entertainment content. So whereas Alex Hormozi is creating educational, like, talking head videos. They're extremely different styles of content. And I think one lends itself really well to repurposing. Like Alex Hormozi's clips, like if you haven't seen them on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube Shorts, I don't know how, because they are putting out like 100 clips a month, probably, maybe more, maybe less. I don't remember the specifics. But I actually think Mr. Beast might be making a mistake by not repurposing content, because it's kind of hypocritical of him, honestly, to be against repurposing when that's exactly what he does with Mr. Beast in Espanol, Mr. Beast in Russian. Like, they're repurposing into all these different languages, but then he's going to say, no, I think it's a waste of time to repurpose clips. Well, I disagree, because just because you have 100 million subscribers doesn't mean that there isn't room for audience growth. Like, there are still a lot of people on the internet and in the world who have no idea who he is. And a clip that is maybe a joke that can stand on its own, or whatever it is, maybe even bloopers and outtakes that people don't normally see, that's an opportunity to, one, like, re-engage his existing audience with content they might not have seen, or if they have seen, like, they forgot and still might get a chuckle out of it. And two, can expand his audience, because that's, like, shorts are just blowing up with opportunity to reach new audiences right now. And then the fact that they're fixing the bridge between short and long form content on YouTube means it will lead new people to watch his long form videos, which increases views. So I actually probably side more with repurposing than not, but that's a very long-winded response, and I'm curious what you guys think.
I agree totally. Like I think it depends on your niche and like your business and what your goals are. But if you don't have, for example, the resources, or maybe you just haven't expanded into shorts, for example, and you don't have the time or the resources, like, start dabbling in short form content by repurposing what you already have. Like, test out if your audience is ready to engage with your short form content. And also, if you do want to reach a new audience, repurpose your content. The only issue I have with that is, if you're repurposing on 3 to 4 of the same platforms and it's the same audience and you're repurposing the same content, try and find new ways to repurpose the same content. It's just, instead of just copy pasting the same video to three or four platforms, just try and find creative ways. Maybe that's what Mr. Beast is trying to aim for. Like, don't just copy paste whatever you're doing onto 3 or 4 platforms, because maybe then you might not get the benefits of it.
I think that's a great point. and I'm totally with you. I think, like, copying and pasting content across platforms can work if the audience is different, which very often is, but there can also be a ton of overlap, in which case, like, you're just going to burn people out and annoy them with the same content. I think it's also a matter of, and Kylie, we're seeing this on our YouTube channel, of like figuring out what type of content works well with shorts and what does not. Like, we were talking about a clip earlier this morning that we had repurposed into a short, and it just tanked. Like, it didn't get the views that we were hoping for. It got like brutal views. Whereas, like, the one before that it kind of popped off and did hundreds and hundreds of views in really short amount of time. And it's a matter of figuring out, like, what are the patterns that are similar between the shorts that don't work and the ones that do, and then how do we then take that and replicate it into our future content and pulling clips out of future long form videos that we create. And Kylie, I don't know if you have anything that you would add on that we've been talking about and learning from recently.
Yeah, it's been so interesting to watch the trends of which repurposed clips pop off and which ones just absolutely do not. And something that I think we've learned over the past month is when we know we're going to be repurposing, we've been more intentional in writing our scripts so that we have these little chunks that are easy to pull out without the context of the larger video. And that's made repurposing a lot easier. And I've also noticed that our more casual clips from interviews and conversations with other people, like clips from past episodes of the catch up, those seem to be resonating more with people than just clips that are Daniel Yu standing in the studio telling us some tips. I think those suit a long form better, but that's just been the data we've seen on our channel, and we're not an entertainment channel. So I would be really curious to see how other folks are looking at their shorts data.
Yeah, I love that you brought up the clips of conversations, because I know that I very often on TikTok get sucked into podcast clips, like a lot. Whether it's like there are a couple with like I think it's just a girl by herself like reading true crime stories, but it's a podcast, and like they suck me in all the time. Even though I hate true crime shows, like I don't listen to any of those kind of podcasts. The fact that it's in like a 30 to 60 second digestible thing, and that sucks me into like a 3-part series, and I go to the page and watch more is wild. But the podcast clips, man, I feel like they're crushing it. And the other thing I've noticed is that with our audience, they are not interested in motivational and inspirational and like feel good clips that like it, it's a customer that we talk to and they're talking about like do things that light you up, do things that make you feel good, or you've got this, you're going to do great, you're going to do amazing. Like our audience is not interested in that kind of content. They want hard-hitting, like tactical, practical, tangible takeaways that they can then go put into action with their business. Those perform significantly better than the kind of amorphous, more emotionally driven content, which I don't think that's the same for every audience. You could go to another channel, maybe one of our competitors, I don't know, anyone, and that audience could love those emotional, inspirational clips and not be as interested in like the nitty gritty details of running a video business. So it's really interesting to emphasize, like, listen to your audience, pay attention to the patterns that they give you with their views, and then leverage that into the content that you're going to create.
I do just want to add to that it will take a bit of like experimenting, because you'll say that I agree with you. Our audience specifically, they don't enjoy motivational content, but then on Instagram, for example, they love like entertainment content. Like on TikTok, I had a video that got like 200 views, posted to Instagram and got like over 8K views, and then post like a podcast type thing and like there's nothing. It's dead. So it really, I think, goes to the point of understanding your audience per platform, like not just repurposing for the sake of repurposing, of getting your content out there and wanting to push out quantity over quality. Focus more on the platform and the quality on that specific platform.
So y'all have made some really good points about what to look out for when you're repurposing content. But if you're going to dedicate time to making an original short or just go all in on repurposed, how would you choose which direction to go? Madison, I want to know your thoughts.
I think it goes about just like start experimenting with content, because you won't know what your audience is ready for and what they will engage with by not like tasting it. So you might be making a long form piece of content and you want to repurpose that. It might tank. So you need to taste around for at least a good few months, like 4 to 6 months, play around with exactly what type of repurposed content works best. And then also start playing around for 4 to 6 months with original content that's completely different. You can still repurpose maybe a video, but just have a completely different spin on it. So that way you're kind of still repurposing, but also creating original content.
Yeah, I think that can work. To me, the conversation comes down to resources. Like, what can you sustainably afford to do? If you're an entrepreneur who's working alone in your business, like adding in having to create 4 original shorts per week is probably not sustainable on top of your long form content and what you could be making for a premium platform, off of YouTube or wherever it is. So I think it really, like, that's kind of the conversation that we have about it, is like, what is sustainable for us to do? Like, should that be more repurposed clips than original, or should it be more original than repurposed? And you can kind of figure out along the way like what gets better views and what doesn't. And I think that in balance with your own cadence and figuring out what works for you to sustainably create on top of everything else you're already doing is kind of the most important way to approach this decision, because I don't think there is a one size fits all answer to this question. I think you've just got to take into account the factors that will most influence your own sanity and mental well-being in the long run. So that's how I would approach it. And that's how we've approached it here at Uscreen. Like, what resources do we have that we can put towards original short form content, and then let's fill gaps with repurpose, because we have plenty of that to go around. And if we feel like we've got more margin, we can add to that or expand on it in the future. But it's kind of like an ongoing conversation that we revisit every so often, because things change, they shift, they grow, they shrink, and you've got to figure out what works best for you.
I agree with that, Daniel. I think ultimately it's not taking away resources from our long form videos is also super important, because depending on how you're trying to grow and where and what your goals are, at the end of the day, shorts are wonderful and a great way to reach new people and help them grow. But our long form videos are where that where that extra knowledge is and where that extra effort's going into. So I think I agree with you. When we have time, originals are great, but you don't want to sacrifice your original goal.
Absolutely. And I'd love to know, for those of you watching, what's your approach to short form content been? Are you repurposing content from your long form videos, or are you creating originals? And if you had to decide with Alex Hormozi or Mr. Beast, who would it be? Let us know in the comments below. And thank you so much for joining us for this episode of The Catch Up. We'll see you in the comments.